You know, there are some stories that just feel like they've been around forever. They're woven into the very fabric of our childhoods, almost like a family member. But have you ever really stopped and asked yourself, why? Why have these specific tales survived for hundreds, even thousands of years?
I mean, just look at these two. I don't even have to say their names, do I? You instantly know the girl with the red cloak, and you for sure know the one with hair as black as ebony. They're just iconic. Figures from stories told a million times, all over the world.
And that really brings us to the big question. We live in a world with non-stop entertainment at our fingertips. So why do these simple and, let's be honest, kind of terrifying stories still have such a hold on us? What's their secret?
Well, to crack that mystery, we need to do a little detective work. We've got to look at the evidence that's been hiding in plain sight inside the stories themselves. So let's start with two heroines we all think we know so well.
Okay, so our first case, it starts, as it often does, with a sweet, innocent girl sent on an errand. Mom tells her, take this basket to your sick grandma. But of course she runs into a wolf in the forest, and he seems friendly enough, even giving her a suggestion. Hey, why not stop and pick some flowers along the way?
So while Little Red is off picking flowers, that very clever wolf takes a shortcut. He hustles over to Grandma's house, tricks the poor old woman into opening the door, and, well, let's just say the wolf was really hungry.
And this is where it gets truly creepy. The wolf doesn't just eat her and hide. No, he puts on Grandma's nightgown and cap, climbs into her bed, and just waits. It's such a simple disguise, but it's this incredibly chilling act of deception. The predator is literally taking the place of family. And then we get to this classic back and forth. We all know how it goes. With every single question, you can just feel the tension ratcheting up. The girl knows something is off, but she can't put her finger on it until it's way, way too late.
Now here's where it gets really interesting. Most of us, we know the happy ending, right? The woodcutter bursts in, saves the day, everybody's fine. But in one of the oldest versions of this tale, the story is much, much darker. The wolf eats her. The end. That's it. Remember that detail, it's a huge clue for later.
Okay, let's switch gears to our second case. Here, the danger isn't some predator out in the woods. Nope, this threat comes from right inside the castle walls. A wicked queen who is absolutely obsessed with being the most beautiful person in the kingdom. Every single day, she asks her magic mirror the exact same question. And for years, the mirror gives her exactly the answer she wants to hear, feeding that ego.
But then, of course, the inevitable happens. Her stepdaughter, Snow White, grows up. And the day the mirror changes its tune, that's the day the queen's vanity just curdles into this furious, all-consuming jealousy. And where does that jealousy lead? Well, what do you know? Once again, a young, unsuspecting woman is led deep into the dangerous, unknown woods. See a pattern here? This is not a coincidence. The forest itself is a major part of the story.
Okay, so we've looked at the clues from these two famous stories. Now it's time to step back and start connecting the dots. It's time for our first big reveal. So, what is the common thread here? What's the link between wolves in Grandma's clothing, jealous queens, and kids getting lost in spooky forests?
The answer is, they're both folk tales. And that's not just a fancy word for an old story. It means these tales weren't written by a single person. They were spoken, shared out loud, and passed down from parents to kids, generation after generation.
So yeah, this is basically their DNA. The original authors, totally lost to time. These stories popped up in different cultures and just grew and changed as they traveled. And because people were telling them from memory, kind of like a game of telephone that lasts for centuries, changes were bound to happen. Remember that super dark ending to Little Red Riding Hood? That is a perfect example of a variation.
But how these stories were told is only half the puzzle. The other half is all about where they take place. So let's take a walk into the woods.
Ah, the forest. It's so much more than just a background in these stories. It's basically a main character. It's that forbidden place you're always warned about, the place where all the normal rules just don't apply anymore.
And here's why it's so powerful. The forest kind of has a split personality. In the stories, it's this magical, mysterious, and terrifying place. But back in the day, for the people telling these tales, the forest was a place of very real danger. It was full of bandits and wolves and bears. So the fantasy was actually rooted in a very real fear.
And once you step into that forest, anything is possible. Reality just goes out the window.
Suddenly, animals can talk, houses can be built out of candy, and you might just stumble on a cottage with 7 friendly dwarfs. This total escape into fantasy is a huge part of its appeal.
All right, so we have stories passed down by word of mouth, we have all these different versions, and we have this powerful, magical setting. But that still doesn't fully answer why they lasted so long. For that, we need our final reveal. Let's just get right to the point. Why did adults tell kids these stories? Well, to teach them a lesson. And sometimes that lesson was incredibly direct, like this one. I mean, there's not a lot of subtext there. It's a straight-up warning.
And that's it. That is the secret to their enduring power. At the end of the day, these weren't just cute bedtime stories. They were survival guides. They used fear and fantasy, 2 incredibly powerful tools to hammer home life or death lessons. Don't talk to strangers, watch out for jealousy, and for goodness sake, listen to your parents.
So that leaves us with one last thing to think about. The deep, dark forest might not hold the same kind of danger it used to, but the need to warn our kids about the world hasn't gone away. So what are the modern folk tales we're telling our children now? What are the stories we use to help them navigate the dangers of our world?